Thank you, President Johnson and trustees. We're talking next about just touching on our readiness of school buildings. And before we go to the slideshow, I just want to remind folks that we've had 2 comprehensive reports. This is just a little update this evening. So on our Return to Learn, our Reimagine Learning part of the website, if folks are interested in diving deep into the details, there are 2 prior reports, and then we've had a number of small updates. And tonight is a small highlight, a spotlight on the readiness work for our school buildings. Trustees, this is an update, and I do, as you all are aware, there is a lot moving and going on in this area of our work. So we'll share this update this evening, and likely there will be more information forthcoming. So Mr. Lautzana, what's going on in our school buildings? Last we spoke with you, we were thinking about air purifiers, and you were going off to order some different air purifiers, and we know we're focused on water quality and indoor air quality and our HVAC and so on. Give us an update, if you would, please. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Swift. Good evening, trustees, President Johnson, Ann Arbor Public Schools community. I've got a quick update. I'm going to cover a few areas here with the slides. Water quality, our HVAC systems, the health and wellness signage, and yes, an update on the air cleaners. And I just love these little mosaics. They make the slides that much more colorful and exciting. So on water quality, while our buildings are unoccupied, and this is a best practice for buildings that sit, unoccupied for periods of time, we are flushing the plumbing systems 3 times per week to help prevent, amongst other things, the growth of Legionella bacteria. We have completed the biannual replacement of all of our drinking water filters that we have been installed over the last couple of years on all of our drinking water sources in our buildings. We are testing all school buildings for lead, E. coli, and Legionella. We removed all the drinking fountain bubblers or drinking fountain sources. Those are felt to be especially concerning from a health perspective, with lots of mouths in the same vicinity breathing and drinking water. So we've removed those and capped the openings. In their place, we're installing water bottle fillers, and whenever that's feasible, so a place where a student or staff member can take their water bottle and basically put it to the fixture. They don't have to touch the fixture at all, and the water goes into their bottle, and they can remain hydrated. And we are in the process of transitioning all of our restroom fixtures to touchless operations. So things like sinks, toilets, urinals, paper towel dispensers, et cetera, will all be in touchless operation mode. On the heating, ventilating, and air conditioning systems, the HVAC systems, again, a best practice in an unoccupied building, we are running these systems at least 2 hours twice per week to keep them in good working order. Now that winter has set in, we're running them much more frequently than that. But during the summer, we're just running them a little bit here and there just to keep things in good order. Like if you have an older car that might sit around for a long time, you want to take it out around the block every once in a while to keep it in good shape. We have programmed a new sequence for our HVAC systems. We have prior to this, we have two primary modes that we put our buildings in. The first mode is an occupied mode, so the heating system comes on, or the air conditioning system, while the building is occupied, and you bring in fresh air and you filter the air. The other mode that we typically operate is an unoccupied mode, and that's so you can step the building back in the evening and after hours when you're not using the building, so that you can conserve energy. With this system now, we've programmed, tested, and operated a new enhanced indoor air quality operating mode that allows us to increase the amount of ventilation and filtration that we're providing in our buildings to the maximum extent possible, given the capacity of the equipment, outdoor temperature, and things like that. So we're bringing in on the order of 20 to 40% additional outdoor air when we operate in this mode. And we have tested this. And in fact, during the recent election, we ran our buildings in this mode to provide a safer environment for voters during the election. We've increased the frequency of our HVAC filter replacement schedule with our vendor. We were on a 2-time per year filter replacement. We've increased that to 3 times per year. And we are in the process of commissioning and deep cleaning all HVAC units. So that's literally opening the equipment up, cleaning the inside of it, ensuring that all the motors and actuators and other bits and parts inside of those units are working. We expect to have, the plan is for the commissioning to be completed at all elementary schools prior to the winter break. We're most of the way there. We've got 3 or 4 left, and then we will move into middle schools and high schools. And the target is to have that completed by the springtime. And another thing that's really important, and the professional organizations talk a lot about, is making sure that your restroom fans are in operating order. That's to create negative pressure in the bathrooms, and so that the aerosols and other things that are generated in our restroom environment are sucked out through the ceiling fan to the exterior of the building, and it's not. It's less likely that the air from the restroom would migrate back into a classroom or the hallway. That way, with that negative pressure, really keeps most of the air in the restroom in there. And that's obviously, there's other reasons that restrooms are designed that way, to keep the fumes and everything from the restrooms separate from the rest of the building. We've also developed health and wellness signage, and that could also say directional signage. These are signs, floor dots, and things like that you would see in places like that you might have visited, grocery stores, et cetera. And so we have floor plans developed for every single building about indicating where all of these items would be placed, and we're in the process of beginning to implement those. The floor dot material is actually kind of hard to come by these days. So though we did place the order over a month ago, we have recently received the delivery in the middle of last week. So we'll be indicating things like in only and out only or exit only door locations. So when we go back to the hybrid mode, the practice is to try to minimize crossing traffic. So if you've ever been in a middle school or someplace like that, when the bell rings, everybody just kind of zigzag walks all over the place. The idea is you walk on the right side of the hallway so that you're not crisscrossing as much as possible. Additional things like social distance reminders, floor dots for social distancing 6 feet, self-screening reminders, one-way hallway and staircase traffic circulation, walk on the right side only, maximum occupancy signage for places like restrooms, elevators, media centers, et cetera, and lots and lots of hand washing reminders in restrooms and classrooms that have sinks in them. And so, yes, we, as Dr. Swift mentioned, and I'm sure the board remembers, we discussed portable air cleaners at our the last time I did myself and Mr. Rice did an in-depth presentation to the board. One of the concerns that we had was the potential for significantly concerning noise levels from these units. And so we've received and tested the noise levels on 5 models of portable air cleaners. The classroom scale models, which are significantly larger than residential scale models, went on the high setting, and most of these have Both the commercial and residential scale will have several setting levels. Some have 2, some have 5, etc. But when you put it on the high level, the classroom scale models were generating noise in the order of 59 to 68 decibels. And the chart on the right kind of makes some comparisons to what that might sound like. So 58 to 68 decibels could be the sound of a loud conversation, a busy street, or an alarm clock, or possibly even as disruptive as a noisy restaurant. So that level of sound in a classroom, when these units are in full high operating level, I'm not a classroom educator, but I am an architect and have dabbled in some acoustics. That seems troublesome to me and quite disruptive to a classroom environment. Smaller residential scale models on the high setting generated, and this was a couple different models. So one model was at 45, the other was at 59. When you start getting down into the 45, the 40s range, that starts to be a little more reasonable. This chart indicates 45 decibels to be comparable to moderate snoring. Still a disruption. Basically, when you go down in scale, you're moving less air. And what's happening in these units when you go from low to medium to high setting, the fan inside of the unit is increasing its speed. And that's what's generating the additional noise is from the fan speed and the ancillary vibration that causes to the housing and everything else. So we're still looking. We've got a couple more units that we're exploring and we'll be ordering to test out and do some testing and measurement with. We need to do this testing. Quite frankly, the manufacturer reported noise levels do not always align with the tested levels that we find when we actually put the units into operation. The industry, I believe, knows that that's a concern for people. And so, maybe it's the way they're doing the test versus the way we're doing the test is causing some of the discrepancies, but we feel it's really important that we continue this testing and order additional units so that we can hopefully find something that is both effective and reasonably quiet in our classrooms.
As we all know, the pandemic is really crossing some very frightening thresholds. I do want to touch base on the question. Well, before we go into that elementary question, I want to just point out the most recent IHME projections places Michigan around 14,000 deaths by March 1st. So, we're hearing from experts across the board that it is indeed likely that the coming weeks will be especially disastrous for the virus. I'm not making any predictions. I'm not the public health person. I'm just hearing the warnings out there. We hope that the restrictions that the governor put in place beginning today will cause that level to come down. We will continue to monitor every week, but we do understand, I think we all do, that we're entering a very scary period of time with regard to cases. Now, we heard from the governor's team on Sunday night about high schools versus elementary schools. On Monday, trustees, as you're well aware, we get the report every Monday. It's published publicly, is the MDHHS school report. And I just want to show trustees that you can see here 1,069 ongoing cases due to outbreaks in Michigan schools. And trustees, because we've attended many briefings on this topic, but these are actually cases that through contact tracing are found to have been transmitted at school. If they're found to be transmitted in another location, sports or socially, then they don't end up in this report. So this is certainly an underreporting of numbers. But the question about elementary schools is on the next slide. And I just want to touch on that idea that while high schools do have the most, that is certain. Preschool through elementary level still represent 24% of the ongoing new and continuing cases represented in school outbreaks in Michigan. So again, back to Trustee Nelson's comment that these are always risk benefit analyses that we all think about. They weigh heavily on us. But I just wanted to touch on that because we're hearing from several folks this week who felt like that the statement was that elementaries are safe. And certainly we have to be careful when we say that word safe, because we're in a high level of community spread across our county and across every region in Michigan right now. So there is a significant portion of our school transmitted cases that have occurred at elementary level. And this is the report that came out just on Monday afternoon. I want to just close this report by sharing, trustees, we are publishing, before we do that, at this time, based on the upward trend of cases continuing across Washtenaw County, trustees, it will be my recommendation to continue in virtual learning and to continue to monitor the data. As of today, I believe this is the same status as every other school district in Washtenaw County for the coming weeks, and also every other public school district, and also the position of most public school districts in Southeast Michigan. I do want to point out that we will continue to implement additional supports for students and parents and staff. We do hear it's on our minds constantly of what a struggle this is for everyone. I want to pause at the end. Our next steps, trustees, will be the same. Pause at the end of this report for our Thanksgiving message. I want to give a big shout out again to Miss Ruthven. She's the 7-year art teacher in the district at Abbott and Angel, and these are all her children's kaleidoscopes. They are marked, trustees, with the child's name in grade level. So if you can get that on your laptop and get close, you can see the student. We're grateful for Miss Ruthven. We have so much gratitude to our students and teachers, staff and leaders, our parents and community. I feel like everyone is working so very hard to help each other and to navigate through this historic and challenging time. We appreciate the hard work, the partnership, the patience, and the support of our Ann Arbor community. This will be a Thanksgiving when many people across our area and across the country will be missing someone at the Thanksgiving table. Our thoughts go out to everyone, and particularly to those who are being personally impacted by the virus, either through missing their time at school or through the loss of a loved one. We just appreciate the opportunity to share this evening. I do want to share, trustees, that we've attached the good things because we do miss getting to go through that. We'll be publishing it also in the superintendent's update, but I wanted to give a shout out to the School Press Association and national honors to Community High School and to Huron High School recently. And you can read more about that in our superintendent's update or on board docs. And so with that, we'll be recommending a continuance of virtual instruction, and we'll look forward to seeing everyone again at our next meeting. Thank you, trustees.
All right. Thank you very much.